NXT Gold Rush from November the 18th, 2025. The show was really good from the start. It kind of got a little weak near the end. But let me tell you, thoroughly enjoyed the show. I really did. NXT is a very fun show to watch, and it breezes by as usual. Brad Schwartz, the CW president, or whatever, yeah, he's the president of CW Network, talked about how much better the NXT women are than the men. He thinks it's the best women's division in WWE, but he might as well go ahead and say in wrestling. He probably don't know enough about wrestling to say that. But if you saw what they did tonight, those girls did a really good job tonight. They really kicked ass, So I want to start there. I want to start with the main event. Start with Tatum Paxley losing the NXT Women's title to Jacy Jayne. For everybody who's upset, and I know that there's quite a few people who are, I knew this was going to happen. I said 2 weeks ago when she won the belt, she wasn't going to be champion very long. That character doesn't need the title that long. She's an underdog champion. Part of the whole gimmick was that she was going to win the title unexpectedly and then lose it because of Izzy Dame. Hell, Izzy Dame tried to stop her from winning it. So the storyline where Izzy Dame finally turns on Tatum Paxley mid-match, kicked her right in the goddamn head, cost her the championship. Very unfortunate. Extremely unfortunate. And you know what? Saw it coming. Tatum Paxley did a Pittsburgh plunge off the second rope. Now, if you don't know what a Pittsburgh plunge is, it was one of the moves Shane Douglas used to do. It was like a fisherman neck breaker. Like you hook somebody like the perfect plex and yet you do a net breaker with it. And she did it off the second rope and then followed it up with some other move. Again, combination moves where a combination is not necessary, but whatever. Tatum Paxley got hit with a straight up rolling encore and she kicked out. The crowd was kind of dead at that point. They were like, oh no, she lost. And then they started waking up when she kicked out of Jacy Jayne's finish. At this point, Tatum Paxley is trying to get back in the ring where the culling, which would be Nico Vance and Shawn Spears, blocked her way. And when she turned around, Izzy Dame booted her in the face and then threw her in the ring for a second rolling encore. And that was it. Jacy Jayne, obviously, well, I didn't expect that she would be winning it right back. So I'm not gonna give myself full credit for that. If it was a test, I'd probably get like an 86 or something like that because I was mostly right. But I thought Jacy Jayne was on her way out. So Jacy Jayne wins. Not mad at it. She's been doing a really good job as the standard bearer for the women's division. Clearly, they're going in a different direction with somebody else. But considering Jacy beat a lot of those people in her first run, have no idea who she's going to wrestle this time. But I might have an idea because I'm thinking it might be Sol Ruca. But we know what Tatum Paxley is doing next, and that's feuding with Izzy Dame. Now, Izzy Dame is an interesting case because she has been one of the better women that has come along over the last year or two. And she hasn't really been given a lot to do. This culling thing has really helped, but it's still kind of been slow rolling. So I'm glad to see that they're finally starting to put some gas to it. She's in a storyline now that really matters, that really elevates her character and her persona. So this works. Paxley just was a sacrificial lamb. You have to realize that a character like her is a lot like, I don't want to say she's a lot like, the Zack Ryders and characters like that, but she kind of is. Tatum Paxley, again, as an underdog character that people believe in and they like her and they see that now she can do it on her own. It's still a question about the longevity of the character, but she got there. And I think Izzy Dame is going to have like a longer, more prosperous future, as I think she's better in terms of a character. She can talk. She's tall. Work needs some help. Obviously, if you want to look at it from a bell-to-bell standpoint, Paxley is better. Pac is almost maybe a little bit better of a character too, but because of her character, she's very limited. So I'm looking forward to Paxley and Izzy Dame's feud. Obviously, this is going to be because Izzy Dame has tried to control Tatum Paxley and failed. And now she decides that the best way to control Tatum Paxley is to kick her ass and maybe kick her out of the group, that Paxley is weak and not somebody that she really wants anything to do with. So, it's fine. I'm not mad at it. I know that other people are. I'm sorry to hear that. But this is pro wrestling. Shit happens. I was far more mad that Dark State defeated Javon Evans and Leon Slater. I was not happy about this. Leon Slater and Javon Evans ate up like 80% of the match. You'd be hard pressed to find any offense that Dark State got in. But because Dark State was getting bumped around so much, and they were getting bumped to hell. Every time we turn around, these guys taking drop kicks and somebody's jumping on them from over the top rope. It was consistent. It was constant for like 10 to 12 minutes of these guys just flying all around their heads. It was insane. It was really insane. The big finish comes with Javon Evans hitting a splash on Leon Slater by accident because I think his name is Osiris Griffin. He saw Javon Evans coming and he moved. So as Javon was trying to break up a pin, he ended up splashing Leon Slater. Javon was then grabbed and thrown out of the ring. This was followed by a Doomsday Device, and Dark State won the match, pinning Leon Slater. I'm sure somebody's going to flip out because Leon Slater was the one who took the pin and not Javon Evans, and woe is TNA and all that other stuff, but it's not really that serious. It's a tag team match, bro. It's okay. Dark State is not good. I don't like Dark State. I have been consistent in that. Dark State is not my favorite idea that NXT has come up with, but they're pushing them really hard. They had them beat a super team with Javon Evans and Leon Slater. They had them beat the Hardy Boys. To give these guys such huge wins only for it to go nowhere, yikes. You know what I'm saying? It's tough. It's extremely tough. And I don't think it's going to make them more over. I really don't. They still got that guy who does butt stuff in this thing. He stopped doing the butt stuff, which is great. But he never should have started it. You never start doing butt shit. Just don't do that. But I was disappointed in how much in this finish. I don't know. I guess anything other than Leon Slater and Javon Evans would have been a disappointment. But at the same time, I knew they weren't going to win. You're going to put the tag team titles on a TNA guy? Not likely. Mariah May defeated Sol Ruca to maintain the Women's North American Championship. A very 1980s pro wrestling match here. Very methodical with Mariah May grabbing a hold. She worked holds the whole night. She was working the leg, did leg grapevine. But it gave Sol Ruca an opportunity. This was the importance of selling. We talked previously about selling. So you had Sol Ruca, she did a kip up, but she did it on one leg. And I thought that was pretty neat. And then she was trying to do to sell the knee while she was doing kip ups, and she did a one leg moonsault, which was very nice. Mariah May was attacking the leg. Ended up taking the knee brace off, put a very deep Boston Crab on her. It wasn't working out. She transitioned to another submission hold, and Zarya threw in the towel to cost Sol Ruca the championship. So Mariah May, a.k.a. Blake Monroe, won the match. It was a good match. Obviously, a well-worked match from Mariah May's perspective. She didn't try to keep up with Sol Ruca's agility or her speed. In fact, they worked a very basic kind of match you would have seen on WCW with like Dean Malenko versus, Psychosis or something like that, where she would grab a hold and then somehow Sol Ruca would get free and she would hit, all her high flying offense or like some quick drop kicks or something like that, something fast. And then they find some way for Mariah May to cut her off, grind her down again. Very simple, basic ass match. But since they don't do this as much anymore, and since Sol Ruka did a good job of selling, it actually got over the finish line as being pretty damn good. Well, let's not say good, let's say very damn solid. They probably could have had a better match if they'd allowed Mariah May to do more, but I think this was the right move for her character, considering they wanted to get over how aggressive she is. They wanted to get over what she's willing to do to Sol Ruka to win this match, such as running her leg against the ring post and all that sort of stuff. Very solid, methodical match by Mariah May. Now, Zarya cost Sol Ruka the match. Sol Ruka was very mad about this later on. But Zarya was insistent that she did the right thing because, Sol Ruka can be champion later on. She can't be champion if she's injured. And Sol Ruka's fresh off her injury. She can't be doing all this stuff, She was being a mom. Ugh. I've been saying for months now they need to get Zarya away from her. They need to get Zarya away from Sol Ruka. So my guess is that probably next week Sol Ruka's going to cost Zarya her match. Somebody's got to turn on somebody, goddammit, at some point. They should have been finished this and separated these two. I understand why they haven't. And then with the Izzy Dame, Tatum Paxley turn, they're probably less likely to actually separate these two anytime soon. But they need to separate these two immediately. I mean, as soon as possible. But they're starting to really widen the schism. First, it's basically because Zarya is a fuck up. That's the point here. Zarya is a screw up. She can't do anything right. And she's starting to cost Sol Ruka championships and opportunities, and now she cost her this match. I don't see any reason why there would need to be a rematch between Sol Ruka and Mariah May. But they might decide to do that. I think it's time for Sol Ruka to move up the card and to fill in and become the women's, or in the position to be the women's champion. I know that they probably got that spot earmarked for like Lola Vice or somebody like that, like a Jordan Grace or something. But I know we've been talking about Jordan Grace a lot, and it hasn't been the case that she's been getting any second looks in NXT, but I'm just saying. Sol Ruka has done everything she can do in the mid card, I think. And she's done a lot, So it's kind of time for her to move on. She was a triple champion at one point, for God's sake. So it's time to move forward. So Zarya probably needs to go through Sol Ruka in order to reestablish herself, and that's absolutely necessary. Now, in terms of Mariah May, she's done a really good job here. She's not, blowing the roof off the building or anything like that, but she's having a really good run and really establishing the gimmick and establishing the character. They need to get her some challengers so that she can separate herself from these two. I know she's been thirst trapping with all of them. She's been thirst trapping with all the girls. Izzy Dame and Mariah May did like some photo ops in bikinis or something like that the other day. They got people all riled up. So she's been in NXT treating it like the dating game. In any event, it's about time for her to go and flesh out some other characters. I'm not sure who they got on, outside of the regular mid-carders, like, Jada Parker and, the Ren Sinclairs and people like that. I'm not sure who you got in the mid-card in the women's division anymore that you can immediately throw in there with Blake Monroe and it'll mean something. It seems to me like they'll have to take some time to build somebody because she's been very well protected and pretty well put together. While you can't say that for a lot of the other people, because a lot of the heels in NXT's women's division are quite strong. Again, Izzy Dame and Fatal Influence, those four right there, and the babyface side of NXT, they've been plowed through. If anybody who hasn't lost to JC Jane has probably already lost to Mariah May. So hopefully they got somebody on the bench that I'm not thinking of. Maybe they send somebody down from NXT, or maybe they call up somebody from Evolve. Maybe Kylie Armstrong, or I know they're going to use Kendall Gray. Maybe they keep her on NXT for a little while as a babyface to do something here. But they're doing a good job with Mariah May. I don't want them to lose the momentum because, well, they didn't prepare another opponent for her in time. The first match on the show was very fun. The AAA Mixed Tag Team Championship match, Ethan Page and Chelsea Green defeat Joe Hendry and Thea Hale. Joe Hendry is now officially a WWE pro wrestler. His last night of TNA, I believe, was during the hiatus. The month-long hiatus that TNA went on in between Bound for Glory and Turning Point. I think his contract expired at some point between there. And there's been quite a few discussions about him now being officially an NXT guy and not a TNA wrestler anymore. And then there's a lot of people who are saying, like, oh, he's got to share his gimmick with Thea Hale. They're going to strip his gimmick and give it to Thea Hale. No, they're not. For starters, Joe Hendry is more than just wave your hands from side to side and doing the little turnaround stuff. Thea Hale doesn't have the presence of. She's got a different kind of charisma than Joe Hendry. She's part of his gimmick. She is an accessory to his gimmick. She's not taking over his gimmick. And I think too often when fans see something and they say, oh, these two characters are doing the same thing, the company is trying to move this person's gimmick onto this other guy. Like, they got that conspiratorial mind state. They thought the same thing when, like, other people was doing the yes chant a couple of years ago, and, like, everybody was doing, like, their variation of it. Like, Big Show did it, and then, like, Alberto Del Rio did it with the C. And everybody was like, oh, they're trying to give away the Daniel Bryan's yes chant. They're trying to give it away. I'm like, you need to relax. That's like saying, every time somebody did a crotch chop, they're trying to give them DX gimmick. Like, no, they're not, man. It's okay. Sometimes guys steal other people's gimmicks. Or, if they're friends or friendly or whatever, they're allies in some way, they use similar gimmicks. But this match was fun. There was a lot of Thea Hale attacking Ethan Page and him having to sell for her. But he's a silly enough character where it worked. So when she put him in the Kimura, it was okay. When she did a tornado DDT, which bounced off of Joe Hendry's chest, that was awkward. When she got the Kimura onto Chelsea Green did a decent job of selling it. Decent, I say decent because she didn't sell it for very long. They ended up breaking that one up, and then Chelsea Green hits the Unpretty Her onto Thea Hale and won the match. Very solid. Very, very solid. Immediately after this, Lola Vice was discussing the opportunity that her and Mr. Iguana are going to have at the AAA Mixed Tag Team Championships next. So they didn't bring in Mr. Iguana for this whole shabazzle, but they did talk about it, so that's something. I'm interested in what Joe Hendry will now be doing. Now that he's officially in NXT, there's no need to sandbag him in this position. We need to, crank it up. Send him up to maybe not send him up to the very top of the card, because, they're doing some good stuff up there with Ricky Starks and all of that. And you don't want those characters to step on each other, or to force the fans to choose in between them. So maybe he is where he should be, because I just thought about it. Like, Ethan Page is the mid-card champion. So, yeah, maybe they're in the right place. Thea Hale has been in NXT for 3 years now, maybe 4. So it's time for her to blossom and grow up some, too. I think she would be a great opponent for Mariah May as well. She has fantastic energy. And everybody likes Thea Hale. It's just been sort of a question of how do we get her from nya to nya? Well, take her just from a couple of steps up, which has been really egregious. the amount of time it's been taken to get something behind Thea Hale. But they might not also be done with this. They might run this back again. I really enjoy the Ethan Page Chelsea Green pairing. I think that two characters, nary a time has been where two characters got along so well, and these two have melded like somehow, some way. It works, and it works fantastically. Where these two characters just seem like they fit perfectly together. Very well done. All right, now for ancillary promos and things. Tavion Heights wants to be in the Deadline match. He was attacked by Josh Briggs. The two of them fought for the rest of the night. I have no interest in watching Josh Briggs. Tavion Heights was very excited, but he didn't have much to say. All he said is the No Quarter Cash crew didn't teach him as much as the Olympics, which, of course, is an indictment on the Olympics. Maybe you stop chasing girls, stop chasing hoes around the Olympic Village. You wouldn't be in NXT right now. You'd be on somebody's wrestling team. Speaking of Deadline, John Cena will choose all of the opponents for Deadline next week when he makes his appearance on NXT. Oh, buddy. So he's going to pick all 10 competitors, both males and females. It ought to be interesting. And I wonder if he's going to show up in person or if he's going to be on video. If I remember correctly, they're taping the second half of Gold Rush, and because of the holiday, which is later that week. And it seems to me like either John Cena is going to pop up in Madison Square Garden, the theater, tonight during the show, during the second half of the show, or they're going to do it via video where Cena, is going to be talking to a screen. I don't know. I would prefer if he was in the building, just so he can give a rub. And I do appreciate that Cena wants to be involved with NXT, and he's even said that he wants the NXT talent to be the feature of the Saturday night's main event that is his final match. And I think this says a lot about John Cena and the theme of what he's trying to get by here. Of course, it would have been nice if that theme would have started at the beginning of the year, where Cena is like, hey, I want to give somebody else an opportunity. I want to give a bunch of people opportunities. And, he wants to create a platform that, that springboards the next generation. I think he was pushing it by saying that this isn't about him. It's about the future. I think that was pushing it. It's most certainly about you, and you should take some of this time, but it might say a lot also that he doesn't feel like he wants to be, honored too much by this new regime, but he wants NXT featured on Saturday night's main event, which probably means there's probably be a goddamn Javon Evans match on there or something. But I ought to be interesting to see the people he chooses for a Deadline, or the people they tell him to pick for Deadline. They ought to be very interesting. All right, main event stuff. The top championship. We got Ricky Starks and Obafemi staring at each other in the face. Obafemi said he didn't want anything to do with any of the stuff that's been going on for the last couple of weeks. He didn't want anything to do with that TNA stuff. Didn't care about it. Didn't care about Ricky Starks and Trick Williams and trying to see which one is best dressed. He went to the motherland. He went to train. And he came back the best version of himself. Daddy is home. He cut a hell of a promo, dog. He cut a hell of a promo. Obafemi is tremendous. It's hard to put him over more without just breaking out the baby oil and giving him a rub down. I'll just say is I'm at the point where this guy, there is no excuse, right? If this guy doesn't become WWE champion, you're going to have me calling people racists. Because this guy is big, he's jacked, he's got charisma, he can talk, he can work, literally can do anything. Look, if you want to look at certain guys, oh my God, Powerhouse Hobbs, he looks great, but he can't really talk, and he's got a lot of physical charisma, but he can't really talk. Lashley, gigantic. Very soft voice. Sometimes gets very confused. Brain is in a knot when it comes to promos. Shelton Benjamin, not much in the way of charisma, even though he looks great and is great in the ring. MVP can talk his ass off, but he's got that criminal history. It is what it is. There's no excuse when it comes to Obafemi. Even if you want to talk about Trick Williams, Trick Williams, he can spit a good game, but maybe he's not a great wrestler. That shouldn't matter. Carmelo Hayes, he can talk, he can work, good looking guy. He's just small. He's just so tiny. Yeah, you got all these little petty excuses when it comes to everybody else, but Obafemi is the one. All right. Again, I'm not breaking out the baby oil. Not yet. But there is no good excuse why in 3 years this guy's not in the main event. Either wrestling for a world title or carrying one. He is tremendous. And it's pretty much universal. All right? It's pretty much universal. You hard pressed to see anybody who knows anything about wrestling who's watched Obafemi and can say that he shouldn't be in the main event. Ricky Starks didn't really have much to say here. It's mostly just Oba, where you been? Oba, what you been doing? And this is what I've been doing since you've been gone. He didn't give a shit, which is great. I like that. Trick Williams came out to interrupt. He continuously chasing that title, but he got hit in the back with a chair by Miles Bourne. Miles Bourne is going to wrestle Trick Williams next week on the Gold Rush show, which is weird because this is a non-title match. There's no championship on the line here. But I can see this being like a qualifier for a deadline or something like that. And I'm thinking that's what they're going to do. They're probably going to have John Cena announce matches where you got to earn it. The spot in deadline is going to be earned. And that's probably where he's going to go with this. But Obafemi was tremendous. Everybody should listen to that promo. He was really good. They did a promo for this guy named Shiloh Hill. And I didn't get it. He looks like Bray Wyatt. And that gave me the creeps. He looked like a mixture of Bray Wyatt and Bo Dallas. He creeped me out. He started talking about playing football at Stanford, but also being a nerd. Then he talked about conspiracy theories. He talking about hurting people, how he loved to hurt people. We hurt people. No, come on. Bo Wyatt? Nah, man. Nah, LFG? Nah, I'm going to pass. I'm going to pass on you, Bo Wyatt. Do something else. This promo thing, this ain't working. Go come up with a character. I don't want to hear your life story. I don't care about your life story. Kalani Jordan is still stunting on Jordan Grace, which I thought was funny. They're going to wrestle next week, of course. Kendall Gray still planning to do bad things to Laney Reed. They're going to wrestle next week as well. So that ought to be cool too. So next week, they're going to do the Speed Championship final. It's going to be Zarya versus Fallon Henley. And then Laney Reed versus Kendall Gray for the Evolve Championship. I would imagine a Super Sean Legacy is going to wrestle. I keep forgetting. Jackson Drake. I think that's his name. Speaking of which, the most recent episode of Evolve featured Jackson Drake beating Keanu Carver. And let me tell you, Keanu Carver probably put himself in that situation. There's no reason why he should have lost that match to that guy, man. This Jackson Drake is one of the most nondescript human beings I've ever seen. He just looks generic. He sounds generic. I keep forgetting what his name is, even though I watched the show. There's nothing special about him. There's nothing special about that guy. But it's clear that this is likely because Keanu Carver was talking all that yin-yang about Jacob Fatu. The company is very petty. I know earlier I kind of denied some of the pettiness, but when they want to be, this company can be very petty. And it's likely that Keanu Carver, again, was probably going to be the first Evolve Men's Champion. But because he tweeted all recklessly, they're kind of going to teach him a lesson. But there's no good excuse why he lost to that guy. Now, hopefully, Sean Legacy will win the Evolve Championship. Everybody seems to like Sean Legacy. That's another universal that people who have watched Evolve or at least watched him, like, this is obviously the best fucking wrestler on the show. And that's true. It's literally true that he's one of the better guys on the show. And he really should just be on NXT's roster in general, not just on the Evolve roster, but we can start by making him the Evolve champion. And getting that generic Jackson Drake guy, putting him with Ethan Page, because that seems to be what they want to do anyway with the Vanity Project, is they want to put them with Ethan Page. And that's fine. You know, those guys can chase the tag team championships. We already got Dark State. Nobody cares about Dark State. There's no other tag teams in NXT outside of Hank and Tank anyway. So the Vanity Project will be a welcome, refreshing upgrade to NXT if that's what you want to do. And the fourth match is Trick Williams versus Miles Bourne. So they got 3 championship matches next week and 1 singles match. It ought to be pretty solid. Obviously, it's going to pale in comparison to this week. This week was very fun. And they did a title switch on this show too, which is even better. So a whole lot of storyline elements were furthered on this show. Nothing was blown off. There's always opportunities to put Tatum and Paxley back in the conversation for the title. There's always opportunity to put Joe Hendry and Thea Hill back together in the championship. I'm not so sure about Mariah May and Sol Ruka. They've been going at it for a while, so maybe that thing is over. I really don't see any reason to continue the Leon Slater and Javon Evans versus Dark State thing outside of the fact that Leon Slater and Javon Evans promised that they were going to avenge the Hardys, and they failed to do so. So maybe they get a rematch. Maybe they ask for one. I don't know. But there's a lot of opportunities here for more storyline advancement. Let's close on this because I didn't understand it. And I kind of knew she had a pretty good fan base, but I didn't know Tatum Paxley fans were this dislodged from reality. I mean, they are having a fit that she lost. They're extremely angry. And I wasn't expecting it. A lot of people just mad at the shortness of the reign. But they are making the mistake of thinking that Tatum Paxley was a transitional champion. She wasn't a transitional champion. A transitional champion is somebody who wins a title, is champion only for a short time, just to give the belt to somebody else. Normally it's because the 2 people in between them, they don't want those 2 people to have a match. So in the past, you would, if you were transitioning the title from one babyface to another, you would have a heel win the title just to lose it to the babyface. Instead of having the 2 babyfaces wrestle each other, you'd have a heel in between them. Here, it's just JC Jane won the title back. So did she transition from JC Jane to JC Jane? That's not a transitional championship. She had a solid short run, and that was it. And people are like, oh, you don't reward her for all of her hard work? The 24 days was the reward, man. What did you think it was? She'd been busting her ass for those 24 days, and she got them. And guess what now? She's an even bigger star now without the title. That's going to be the special bit, though. People don't realize that sometimes when you screw over the babyface and the babyface doesn't get what they deserve, then you get behind the babyface even more. You create an even bigger underdog story. This is what WWE was doing with Daniel Bryan back in the day. They kept doing little stuff to take the title off of him so he could stay in the chase. Because they knew, and everybody knew it, once he won the title, the story, and was champion for a while, the story is over. The same thing that happened with Kofi Kingston. The best way to kill an underdog babyface character is to have them be dominant. And if you become the world champion, you got to be dominant. There is no happily ever after. This is why I tell people before, look at baby faces throughout history. The WWF is an aberration. Other wrestling companies never had their babyface champions run that long because the money was always in the chase. Tatum Paxley is going to be even more over now because she got the title. She won it on her own. Izzy Dame is a hater and betrayed her. Now they can go off and have a real feud between the 2 of them that's going to elevate Izzy Dame and push Tatum Paxley to the next level, and everybody's going to come out better. You use a championship like a prop. Tatum Paxley no longer needs it. But if you want her to be champion, she can always go back to chasing the belt. And now we know she has the potential to win it. So it means a little bit more later on. But she doesn't need to be the champion right now. I think everybody needs to just chill out. You should have saw this coming if you follow storylines. You should have saw this coming from the first goddamn match where she almost got hit in the head with the belt. You knew this was coming. So please relax. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.
No one does it better.